This podcast is supported in part by Carolina Forward, a nonpartisan organization that advocates for ideas, policies, and values to build a stronger North Carolina, one that works for all its people as a strong, diverse, multiracial democracy. For more on them, visit carolinaforward.org. Welcome back to the Foxfire Dispatch. I'm Liz Purvis, a pragmatic progressive organizer in Granville County, North Carolina. And today we are really thrilled to be joined by someone who's been making history right here in NC, Durham County's commissioner and current chair of the Durham County Commission, Nida Allam. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much for having me, Liz.
Nida has spent her career bridging grassroots activism with local government leadership. She made history as the first Muslim woman who was elected to office in North Carolina. And she's continued to break ground ever since, leading efforts to raise the minimum wage for county employees, championing property tax relief for low-income residents. Her work on the Durham Board of Commissioners really speaks for itself, really centers equity and justice and care for the community. She's also a parent and an organizer and someone who has run for higher office, all while keeping her roots in local service. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me in Granville County.
And so before we get into my whole list of questions, I feel like, especially because Gina and you are going to have a detail in the weeds kind of elected officials conversation, I was curious if you'd be open to sharing what the story of what got you in, or also if you'd rather me tell everybody who was listening what got you in.
I can share. So I definitely wasn't a traditional path to politics, but also at the same time, maybe it is traditional because I feel like so many of us get involved in politics out of necessity now. So I am the youngest of three girls. My parents are immigrants from India and Pakistan. And so growing up, we were always very encouraged to go into STEM fields because my parents were this is the best path to a career, to build a strong life for yourselves. They were very big on me and my sisters. We didn't have any brothers. My dad and mom were both we want y'all to be independent. We want you to be able to take care of yourselves. One day you'll get married and your husbands will also have jobs, but we want you to be able to stand on your 2 feet. So we all went into STEM. So I was studying sustainable materials and technology at NC State. I was in my final year. And then in my final year in February 2015, my best friend, Yusra Abu Salha, who had just been married 2 months before, was murdered in her home in Chapel Hill, alongside her husband, Dia Barakat, and her younger sister, Razan Abu Salha, by their neighbor who hated them because they were Muslim. And it was that tragedy of losing them tied with the immediate narrative that came out from the police chief of Chapel Hill at the time, the media, local electeds, of calling it a parking dispute. Mm-hmm. That really stirred in me that we didn't have any voices advocating for us as a Muslim community, that we're constantly told, especially in this post 9/11 America, a lot of Muslims, we always shied away from politics because anytime a politician talked about us, it was in a negative light. It was always calling us terrorists, associating us with any horrific attack. And so I realized in that moment, I was well, we can't just shy away because they're still going to talk about us, but they're going to talk about us with their story, not with our own personal stories. And it made me realize that we needed to get our Muslim community, our immigrant community, our South Asian community organized so that we have a seat at the table, that no one can minimize our lives to a parking dispute. We're told that, oh, well, if you want to be here in America, you should assimilate. You should be more like us. But if you look at it, Dia, Yusra, and Razan were that embodiment of being proud Muslim Americans. Yusra had just become a U.S. citizen. She had just got past her citizenship test. She was so excited. And they were studying to be dentists. They did dental relief work. Razan was an artist. She used to sell artwork to provide food to unhoused people in downtown Raleigh. And they were taken from us. And nobody seemed to care that it happened because of who they were as Muslims.
Yeah. I was at NC State in my final year of my master's program in 2015 too, and just obviously not as close to it as you are, but remember that feeling like a very galvanizing moment in terms of like disparity and inequality and just like unjustness. So thank you. And I also like what stands out when I think about your story is like you said, you didn't really seek out politics, but this very much came to you and like invaded your life. And you were like, well, what are we gonna do? Like what can we do because of this thing that is like encroached upon the life before that tragedy?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Um
Yeah, because I feel like we hear of these type of tragic events, but we never imagine that it's ever going to impact us.
yeah.
Like, you just don't. And so when it happened, like, and especially like a town like Chapel Hill, um, it was just really eye-opening, I think, for our entire community that, like, we can't take for granted how powerful our voices are if we
Yes.
speak up and organize and lift each other up, that we can advocate for a place that's more just and more welcoming for everyone.
I want to transition into some introductory kind of questions. So I know that you've now been involved in politics for like a decade. What are the lessons that you have carried from the grassroots organizing that like, galvanized you and into elective office?
I would say so. I started out after the Chapel Hill shooting. I was very much lost because I was like, okay, there's not really any Muslims in North Carolina who do political organizing. So I was trying to figure out like, how do I get involved? And at that time, it was the presidential elections were starting to gear up, and my husband, like, we weren't married back then, but he told me, he's like, what are you looking at this Bernie Sanders guy? And this is how little I paid attention to politics at the time. Like, I would vote when my parents told me, like, okay, it's local elections, we would go and vote. But I was like, isn't he a Republican? And so I was like, absolutely not. And so I went and started looking at his like platform and like his speeches, and I was like, wow, this is someone who like talks about Muslims and immigrants and like just communities that don't look like him, an older white man, as part of this fabric of America, as a part of this movement for social justice. And I was like, I want to be part of that. And so I was able I started connecting with some folks who had like started Triangle for Bernie. And I was like, hey, how do I like get involved? So they brought me in. I think I probably gave my parents a heart attack because I was like, yeah, I'm going to meet these random people I met on the internet at a coffee shop. But they were some of the greatest, like, these are all volunteers who are just very passionate about the same causes of like having a more just world. And they helped me, they trained me on how to phone bank, how to canvas. And I was like, I have one more semester at NC State. Students need to be more organized. So I started NC State for Bernie. And it was really amazing to see like how excited students started to become about this place. Like our first meeting had over 100 people come out.
And political organizing, it's hard to get 100 people and anything, pretty much.
And this was like back in 2015. Like I wasn't sending out texts. It was just like I posted on the NC State Facebook page. Triangle for Bernie posted it on their page, and we had I booked a room as a student organization at NC State, and just all these people came in. The Sanders campaign sent a staff member to run script training and like how to phone bank, and we all started phone banking for South Carolina from here. And I think that I want to like share. I tell that to like all the students. I was actually meeting with some Duke students earlier, like Duke Sunrise students. It's the youth and like the college students and like the high school students who are really going to save this country, this world. And we need to support that energy momentum. And it's never too early to get started, because especially our youth, like y'all are the future, like older people, like need to listen, because they are the ones even more than us who have to deal with those repercussions of the decisions we make.
Yeah, I mean, it's young folks and retired folks who have the unstructured time available to like volunteer and make things happen. Really, it feels like.
Yeah, and also like it's a great way to organize as young people because you already have your friend groups. You guys are hanging out. I feel like now that like I'm a mom of two, a lot of my life revolves around like the kids and their schedules. But like when I was in college, we'd go to this friend's house, we'd go hang out in the library, and there's so many more opportunities to talk to your friends face to face and to be able to have those real conversations of like, hey, this is really matters to me. Like, will you come out and organize with me for this? And to use that like relationship and love you have with your friends for each other to organize for a better future.
Yeah, relational organizing. It's a good way to go. It's a way to go that I think recognizes the humanity in all the people that we interact with, but like some transactional methods of organizing don't hit on in the same way.
Yeah.
So we mentioned it at the kind of outset when we were given your bio. You've broken a lot of barriers as the first Muslim woman elected to public office in North Carolina. I imagine there have been some highs and some lows in that experience. I was wondering if you would share.
Yeah. I'd say some highs is obviously, yeah, it's just really exciting. Like for me, like when I go to my mosque, down on Fayetteville Road in Durham, and my daughter's actually going to school there now, but it's really great to like go and be with community and like to just have like young kids, like especially young girls, come up to me. I remember in one of my first or second year as a commissioner, I think it was second because my first year was COVID. My second year, we hosted like a iftar dinner at the masjid. And so we were serving, me and my family were just serving dinner to folks who were coming to break their fast. And there was like this little elementary school girls who came up to me and were like, are you Nida Allam? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, are you Nida Allam from the signs? Because my signs, when I first ran, had like a silhouette of my hijab. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And they were so excited. They like, without missing a beat, just started telling me what they wanted to be when they grew up. One of them she said she wanted to be a doctor and a scientist, and the other one wanted to be a veterinarian. And that was a really big high. Like even now, like 5 years later, I always think about it because I'm like, that's what happens when you have representation of people who look like you in leadership roles, whether it's elected office or leadership in a company, that it inspires younger people to have dreams, to have that passion and inspire for bigger things. So I actually saw these girls last year, and now they're so
Preteens now, and it's like,
they're
what?
so big. And their mom came up to me, and she was like, "Do you remember us?" And I was like, "No way." I was like, "No. This cannot be the same little girls that came up to me." And she was like, and we took a picture together. I have to go find it because she said she was posting it on her Facebook. She was like, yeah, I'm going to post a side-by-side picture I have with you, the girls. I was like, I need to see this. I had to go check if she ever did because that was so cute.
That's really precious.
And yeah, there's going to be lows. I mean, being the first, there was not really any like roadmap to how to get elected as a Muslim woman in North Carolina in the South. We saw like, Rashida and Ilhan had been elected, but they're from the North and Midwest. And it was challenging because even in a blue county like Durham, there is still a lot of xenophobia and anti-Muslim sentiments. And I think a lot of it also comes from just not knowing. And I think being in elected office, I'd say there's still going to always be, unfortunately, like some of that hatred. But I feel like me being in elected office has also opened people's eyes of like, there's been a lot of people, especially when I travel like across the state as a commissioner with meeting other county commissioners, other city council members. I did a program at UNC School of Government for elected leaders. It was bipartisan. So many of these elected officials told me that I was the first Muslim they met. And so there's lows of being the first, of just like people have these ideas of who you're going to be, what you're going to advocate for, just because of the stereotypes that they see, believe, and hear. And to be able to break those is really, really exciting because I think it opens up the door for more Muslim women, but also just more diverse leadership in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're about like those kids who now their world is a little wider because the possibility of what they see for the adult they could be is like a little wider. It's just it's wild to think how people's possibilities could shift, especially the younger you are when you encounter that. So this is one that I also am kind of asking it in a place of ignorance because the county commission is a little bit of my blind spot at the local level. What's a county commissioner do?
Yeah. So a lot of people have this question, especially in Durham. It's even more wonky because the majority of Durham County is the city of Durham. So people are like, why do we have multiple bodies of elected government? Which is a whole other topic because I believe in a merger. Our city and county government is just more efficient for taxpayers, for governing. But so county commissioners, what we do is we collect property taxes. That's our main source of revenue, property tax and sales tax. And we fund services and programs like public health, social services. The sheriff's office falls under the county. And then also we provide funding to Durham Public Schools. And every county provides funding to their local public schools because it's also become more and more challenging where more of that weight is falling on local governments because the state is not keeping up their weight of how much they're supposed to be funding because statutorily counties are only responsible for capital expenses like buildings for schools.
Okay.
But and the state is supposed to fund salaries. But because the state refuses to pay our educators and our school workers livable wages, counties provide supplements. And so Durham County, we have like consistently year by year, especially since I've been on, but I believe even before that, have increased the teacher and educator supplements that we provide at the local level, in addition to the capital expenses. So we decide and we fund all of that by every year. We set the property tax rate. And that impacts homeowners and renters because we know even if you don't own a home, if you're renting, whatever the landlord has for his property, they're gonna pass it down to the renter to make up the difference. So it's difficult that is the main source of revenue that we have in North Carolina for local governments because, again, the state has very restrictive ways for local governments to fund programs and services.
That seems like a problem. That seems like a problem with like a solvable solution in there somewhere.
Yes, but it would require equity, which unfortunately our state legislature doesn't care for. Like in North Carolina, we are a state with a lot of preemptions. We're not a Dillon's Rule state officially because we have a lot of the Dillon's Rules preemptions, but then we also have other preemptions that aren't included in Dillon's Rule, and they're also very vague in like the way that the courts would handle them because North Carolina just loves to be difficult for local governments, but everyone in a county pays the same property tax rate.
Oh gosh. So those folks who've got $750,000 houses, they pay the same property tax rate as people with $128,000 houses. Yeah, that sounds like some bullshit to me.
Yeah. And what other counties across the country are able to do that are in like more progressive or even blue states, purple states, even North Carolina's a purple state, we should be able to do this, is they have progressive property taxing where it's based in equity that like, if you have a higher income that there's still going to be a range. Like, it's not like, okay, this person has a higher income, they're going to pay 100% rate of their home or something. No, like it's still like you set a rate. And then the like higher income individuals are going to be at the higher end. Just like an income tax. But like folks who are retired, folks who are veterans, folks who are low income, working multiple jobs, like they shouldn't be taxed at the same rate as individuals who are making six figures plus a year.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like people whose properties are those higher value properties are using more city resources, whether it's like pipes under those houses or like, right? So like, it also kind of feels like it would make sense that they would pay a higher rate because they put more pressure on the system.
Yeah. And also if you look at it of a lot of the people, like especially when we look at our aging community in Durham and like our senior community, a lot of them bought their houses or like have had these houses for generations. So their family could have even bought the house for like $60,000, $70,000 30 years ago. And now we just had a property tax reevaluation. We're statutorily required to, I think the maximum we can go is 8 years. Durham County tries to go maximum 4. This year was 6 because of COVID and everything. But there were folks who like saw like over 100% property valuation increase because of just how the market has been changing. And there's so many people who are like, there's so many homes that are being built, and need for land and homes is so much higher that these folks, like, it's great if you want to sell your house. Like, yeah, you can get a lot more money for it. But if you are just trying to live in that house and like you're older, you're on fixed income of like Social Security, that's really hard.
And if you're, older and that house is paid for, like, they want it as a lump sum too, don't they? Not like in monthly in your mortgage kind of.
The county does offer payment options, like monthly payment plans. But like, yeah, for me, I have a mortgage. Mine goes through my mortgage, like through my escrow. But it's also then like with the communities of members that have it paid off, like their mortgage paid off, we have to make sure we do extra education with them so they know that these programs exist. Because it's not like it's automatic. They have to go and enroll in that payment plan. And like for our older community members, that may be harder to like go online and fill out all that paperwork and doing that.
Yeah, it affects people. Like, I get why the counties need to do this. It's just.
But again, like this, it shouldn't have to be this drastic of a burden on our most vulnerable neighbors if the state just allowed local governments to have more flexibility.
Right. And that feels like such a workable solution.
Yeah. And it doesn't just impact blue counties like Durham. It impacts blue, red, purple counties. Like, because I've talked to Republican county commissioners, and they also are saying, like, yeah, it's really hard for us to fund public schools. And I'm like, okay, can you talk to your legislator? Because my legislators are advocating in Durham County for our working families. Your legislators are the ones who need to hear from you, the local elected officials who are making those decisions, that they need to make a change.
Yeah, Greenville County schools have a $50 million repair deficit. And like Brian, our house rep, likes to say, these are Eisenhower era schools. And there's so much that needs work that it's just like, I can't imagine sending making a choice where like, my kid is going to have to go to like a subpar falling down building to get an education.
Yeah. And I think we need to get our legislators to take a walk through these buildings. Because like we even like Durham, like we had a bond in 22. It's the largest bond that we've ever had for the schools. And even then it like barely made a dent because we have new schools that need to be built to keep up with the population. We have school buildings that need to be replaced because of how old they are. And then we have schools that just need renovations. And like there are classrooms, even like post-COVID, that like have had HVACs break down, that they have to send the kids home. And if like parents are working, how are they supposed to leave work to come pick up their kid? And it's just like, that's all because the state government doesn't value a full, equal education for all children.
And by the state government, like we specifically mean the legislature and the judiciary, I would argue, right? Because they said, let's hear Leandro again with some different judges and just change what we decided a couple of years ago. Like, they're letting us down in like a lot of ways, and it does feel like it puts pressure on and erodes trust in the local public and governance as well.
Yeah, because we're the first face that a lot of folks see, and their property tax bill comes from us. It says signed like Durham County government. It doesn't say signed Destin Hall or like anything. So they don't know us, and like rightfully so. Like their folks are stretched thin, and I understand the pain and frustration that they're feeling, and also want them to work with us, to come to our legislature like and advocate with us, because these legislators who are making these decisions that limit our powers at the local level, that strip funding from vital services and programs that our neighbors rely on, they should hear from the people impacted directly.
No, they absolutely should. You talked a little bit about this, how Durham and the city and the county like makes it kind of unique. I'm curious, like, what's unique about Durham? It's different than other North Carolina counties when you're governing.
Yeah, so one is that, we have the majority of the county is the city. And then we have up in North Durham County, we have the unincorporated areas, which are like Bahama and Rougemont. And then we also have Research Triangle Park, which is like more southern Durham, close to the Wake County border. That's county, that's not city. And so what that means is if you're in city limits, you have city water, city sewer, city roads, city trash pickup. All of those things are provided to you, and you pay city taxes. If you live outside the city limits in Bahama, Rougemont, RTP, you pay county taxes, but not city taxes. But that means you're on well water, septic. And then also the county has its own. Then we have our waste facilities that like folks have to go take their trash there. So that's one way that Durham is unique, and it's like the governing bodies. Then we have also the fact that it's just a very, very blue county. And we're like right in central North Carolina. We are like a D+30 county. It's really great because like it's great to be around people who share the same values. And also it's great to be the county that delivered Roy Cooper his victory in 2016. And it's important because we need to keep overperforming in our elections for Durham County to make up for the areas that our statewide candidates especially may not win, because it all evens out if it's just, popular vote. That if Durham County turns out more voters in an election to overcome the fact that like, okay, this person lost rural red counties by like 3,000 votes. Well, Durham turned out 4,000 votes extra. So
Okay.
I think that's also really great to be able to just like know that we have a path to organize here as well. Even if we're a blue county, like we can't take that for granted. We have to overachieve.
That makes sense, especially as it's like, we're always trying to get MEC up in terms of turnout, right? But like, it's great that Durham's turnout is really good, really blue, because it does. It means that if we lose by less in other places, that goes further. And
Yeah.
That is definitely really cool. Another thing, I think, our audience, millennials and Gen Z, so like some folks who are having kids, thinking about kids, some folks who are not, but like you have an identity as a parent and a commissioner. What do you think about education and childcare policy and like where that should go in this country or in, more locally than that too?
I would say I was very surprised when like I was enrolling my daughter first, when we first had her in daycare, how long the wait list is. I had like heard that the wait list, and I was like, yeah, I can just show up and like we'll be fine. We toured multiple centers that were like, oh, you already have your kid. Most people sign up when they're still pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm a little behind. What's the wait list like then? And they were like, yeah, you're going to be on it for like a year. Unless like people drop off or like change. Like they're like, it's going to be at least a year. And it took a couple months for like Alia to finally get into a program. And we loved her daycare, Kate's Corner. And now my son is actually, he's been on the wait list for Kate's Corner for like a while. I've been telling them, I'm like, okay, those going to come with both our kids. We were like, we want to keep them home for a year and then start them after a year, just because like wanted them home with me. But now Abdul's finally starting on this Monday, and I'm so excited because it's hard to govern with your kids, but also at the same time, I really made it a point to like expose them as much as possible to like different like meetings that I attend, because I've also had like people, like older individuals, come up to me and tell me like how happy it makes them to see the babies at meetings. And also they're like, it also helps the kids like developmentally like learn like, okay, this is a space that we should be quiet in, like this is a space we can make some noise, and like how to understand like how to behave in like different areas, and helps them like regulate their emotions and energy. And so I've had like really positive reactions from folks, and also people have been really supportive, just like in Durham. I feel like on Friday I had to take my kid with me when I was meeting with someone, and they were so sweet. They were like, do you want to get snacks? Do you want me to bring this? Do you want to bring that? And I think it's really important for people to bring their kids, like whether they're in elected office or organizing, to just bring kids around into more spaces because it helps the kids developmentally, but it also helps other people just see kids as a more like as a part of society because they are. They shouldn't just be cooped up at home or school. They should get to explore. And I think policy wise, like going back to the childcare, like there's a huge childcare shortage. And like I talked to the daycare owner, Kate Goodwin. She's really amazing. I should connect you because you should do a session with her about like how hard it is also for a center owner director to open up because that's expensive to have an entire facility to pay staff. And one of the reasons I picked Kate's Corner was because of how well Kate treats her staff.
Because you want the people who are taking care of your babies to be well compensated.
Yes. She provides her staff a living wage. I believe it's $18 an hour minimum. I believe so, yes. At least. And then she also provides the mental health resources. And also, if any of the educators have their own kid that's in the age, they attend the daycare for free, which is huge because daycare is expensive. It's like, we feel like $450 a week. Yeah.
I know one of my friends moved from Chapel Hill to Durham, and one of the really big benefits for her family was access to some like graduated cost stuff that Durham does to make childcare more accessible for folks.
And maybe for our early pre-K program. Yeah.
Yeah, I know she was like, she went from like spending, over $1,000 a month on childcare for two working parents who lay to a much, much lower figure for her kids, like the end of her preschool career. Now that kid is in elementary school now, and she's huge, and I can't believe the passage of time. But like, I don't have kids. It's not in the cards for me and this life, and like I'm grateful for that. But I have a lot of like empathy for how difficult the making of choices that are like, how do I make all the choices to be a good parent to take care of these kids? Like, it's a lot.
And I think it's also like, I think about this regularly, and I probably have talked about this to my husband way too much. Where I'm like, oh, it's just so crazy to me that like Republicans at the state legislature, at the federal level, like claim to be pro-life and say like, no, like you can't kill babies. Like we want to like babies should be born, like all of this thing. But then when the baby's born, they're gone. Like they're
no STAT benefits for you, no child care subsidies for you. Want an education from like people who like want to teach and want to make a living wage and not wait tables too. Like, no, you can't have that either in North Carolina. Like,
because like that's why like I think it's important for like us to even start calling them for what it is. They're not pro-life. They're pro-forced birth. And because if they were pro-life, they would actually want that child to be taken care of and supported once they were out of the womb. And that's not what's happening because like I had my kids and like me and my husband have jobs and like we're able to take care of them. But like I also look at it and I'm like, okay, we're paying like this much for Alia's school and like the things she learns at school, like she's learned her colors, her numbers, like she's become more social. And I look at it and I'm like, I love Alia and she's so special to me. Like she's going to always be special to me. But also at the same time, what makes her more special than the other kids? Like, is it just that me and Tokir have stable jobs? And like, why? Because when she goes into pre-K and kindergarten into public schools, she's going to already have that knowledge of like the numbers, the counting, all of those things that like if she was at home with me, I don't know if I would have had the time to dedicate to teaching her those things. And like parents who don't have the resources to put their kids into a program like that, their kids are going to already be falling behind. And that's not something that the parents want, but it's because of how underfunded our childcare systems are. Like childcare should be universal. Everyone should have access to childcare. Every child deserves an equal opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's an argument for, right, that like this is part of that equal access to education that we have in the North Carolina Constitution. It's like, well, if folks are starting earlier than our traditional like K through 12 education, then it would make sense that well, okay, then what kids need is the support to start a little earlier. Also, just like people should have the ability to opt in or out of being in the workforce as moms and dads. Like,
and we see like this isn't like a European countries like people who give birth, like after they give birth, they get like up to a year of parental leave. And if you think about it, like after giving birth, it actually takes I don't know, it's for C-section because my first was a C-section. Um and then but I'm pretty sure it's for all births, that it takes 2 years for your organs to actually return to where they were pre-pregnancy.
oh my God.
And so like the human body is amazing. And also the fact that most places like it's 6 weeks and get back to work.
Yeah, 6 weeks or 12 weeks. It's like
Yeah.
not enough. It's really
It's
not
not.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's like terrifying to me. That like the option is like wear diapers and go back to work, or like maybe lose your job. Like,
And like for C-section, like I mean, they cut through multiple layers of your body and then like stitch you back up. And then like employers and the government is like, yeah, you'll be fine. Go back to work.
and like kick you back out of the hospital too. Like within not a couple days or a week.
Yeah.
Like,
I think with my C-section, I stayed 3 days.
okay.
And then with Abdul, I think it was like, 2 or 3 days. No, I think I was there a little bit longer with the C-section, but yeah, it's even then it's like, okay. And then you go home and then you're just like, okay, I'm in charge of this human being now.
I'm recovering from surgery. I'm in charge of a very small, very needy being. And like, I got to do both those things at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no. And it just feels like we've talked some on this podcast about like how my dad likes to say like this is the greatest country in the world, which I think is a lot of boomer white fellow sentiment. For him, just no shade, but it is. And I just think like this is the greatest country in the world. We can't figure out like better healthcare for people. This is the greatest country in the world, and like this is what we do for childcare. Like, surely not.
I mean, there's countries with like much smaller GDPs that do all of these things, that they take care of the mothers. They
Send you welcome boxes. Here are free things for your children first.
And in Durham, we are like really focused and like try to hone in on not just like after the kid is born, and not just like, we often talk about like statistics about like if a child is not at reading level by grade 3, that their path to success or their opportunity for success has dropped dramatically. But we can't just start looking at a kid from 3rd grade. We have to start prenatal to 3, because we have to look at the environment that the parent carrying the child is also in. Do they have access to nutritional services? Do they have access to stable housing and mental health services and support and care? Because the environment that the parent is in, it impacts like everything the parent eats is what the baby's eating. Every noise like that's around, especially like when you're in the 3rd trimester, that baby is hearing that noise too. It's exposed to the same things. If the parent is breathing like unpurified like air with like a lot of like carbon monoxide, smoke, chemicals, like that's all going to the baby. So we need to take care of the parent. And then as soon as the baby is born, same thing. Is the parent taken care of as they go through the healing process? And then does this baby have access to milk or formula? Does the parent know about a safe sleep methods? We have a program in Durham County called Welcome Baby, where where I was surprised when after I gave birth that I got a call in the hospital room on the hospital phone. And I was like, who's calling this? And I pick up and it was Welcome Baby. They're like, congratulations, we heard that you had a baby. Like, we have this and this services. And they came to my house. It was a nurse who she like checked our bassinet to make sure. She's like, yeah, like this looks safe. Just keep blankets out, everything, and like trying to provide that service to all. It's open and free to all Durham County residents. So that folks have support, and like the nurses, they schedule follow-ups with you if you need it, and like can come to your home. You can go to them. And I think it's something that we need to do nationwide, and we need to expand it.
Wow. That's like so interesting and so cool that is a Durham County service. One of my cousins lost a baby to SIDS in the last 2 years. I don't know that their county had that kind of level of access. And so thank you. So I know you ran for Congress in 2022, and that was really close, even though there was huge outside spending. I'm curious what you take from that experience into this local leadership, and also if you might have any plans running in.
So, yeah, I think for the local leadership, what I've really been focusing on, and I started to do this even before I ran for Congress, was that, when I first ran for county commission, I had to raise $55,000, which, I look at election now and it just seems like it's getting more and more expensive, and especially compared to my congressional race where I had to raise $1.2 million, and our average contribution was $27, $30. But running from county commission, I was like, okay, young people don't have a donor network like that. Because we call our friends are just starting out jobs, living with student debt. Maybe they can contribute $20, $30. Even when I ran for county commission, I was calling my parents' friends. I think I called my doctor and asked them for donations. And that made me really realize that's a huge barrier for more representation of young people, of immigrants, of people who just don't come from wealth. So I kept fundraising with my donor network of I would keep calling folks and being hey, I know you already donated to me. I won my election, but there's this person running in this and there was a candidate I supported who was running for Lenore Town Council. And I was their overall budget is $3,000. If I get 4 or 5 people to chip in $200, $500, we could close out their entire budget. And doing organizing like that was really, really important because I feel it got my donors, who honestly were folks who had never donated to campaigns before, because they were a lot of Muslims, a lot of immigrants, immigrants who are citizens, because you have to be a citizen or a green card holder to donate. But
yeah, very fair. We're not breaking any laws over here.
Of showing them this is how your money can go a long way. Because a lot of time also in the Muslim community, we look a lot at charitable donations and contributions. We donate a lot to relief organizations doing work.
It's a pillar of Islam, isn't it?
Yeah. And educating our community of this is also part of that. It doesn't qualify as zakat, which is that pillar, but it's still a way that we drive change and provide good to the community, because if we help elect people who are going to provide good services and care for our neighbors, then that's also a good deed that you're doing. So I did that. And then after I ran for Congress, I had this much more massive, national donor list that I was okay, I have this goal of mine that no matter where I end up, whether I run for county commission again, if I retire tomorrow, I'm going to keep organizing and fundraising that I want Democrats to have control of a majority of county commission seats again. We used to have majority control of county commission seats up until 2010 across the state. And I want it for so many reasons, because one, it's a pipeline to higher office. For us we have so many uncontested state legislative seats across North Carolina that if we ran someone, we could either come within 20, 30 votes, or we could win.
And run somebody who's got experience.
Exactly. If we have someone who's run for city council, county commission, they know how to run a campaign. They've built relationships with the community. They have a donor network. It sets them up for better success to win a state legislative seat. So that's one reason I want people for county commission. Another is being a county commissioner. We are part of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And then there's also the National Association of County Officials, where essentially we come to the North Carolina Association. They have an entire staff. They have a lobbying team. The association, every year, they have a legislative conference where all 100 counties are represented, and we set our policy agenda of this is what the 100 counties are advocating for at the legislature. And then NCACC sends their lobbyists and the staff in to the legislators to go and lobby for that. Imagine if we had the control of a majority. We could set that agenda of this is what the North Carolina County Commissioners, your local elected officials, are saying that we need funded. It would be a lot harder for the legislature to turn that down. And then add that into getting people in the pipeline to run for legislature, I think it's like a double whammy that it's like two birds, one stone, that we're building power. Because I think when we're not investing in these races, we're just letting them take more and more control. I mean, I fundraised last in 2024 and donated and sent mail on behalf of candidates in Chatham County, Person County. I think we did mail for Granville County also.
Maybe Tony Cozart, maybe?
So it was 2 people.
And Zelotus J.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I sent mail from Brighter Future PAC on behalf of these folks. And in Person County, we flipped a seat. It's the first time a Black woman has served on the Person County Board of Commissioners.
Antonetta,
Yes.
right?
And it's flipped from red to blue. And that's a seat that, like, we just invested in people like her who are, like, running for local office. We could do that across the state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. I believe that it is possible.
Yeah.
You know? All right. So obviously we want more young people to run for office, especially young women of color. What advice do you give to folks who are interested in running?
I would say, do not listen to anyone who tells you to wait your turn. I can't tell you how many times I was told to wait my turn when I was first running. And I would always say, but like, what am I waiting for? Because in this political world, I wait, but then next year they're going to be like, oh, no, now it's this person's turn. Oh, no, now this person's turn. No, it's like, we're not just the future. We are the now. Like, young people, we are the folks who should have a seat at the table because we are the ones who have to deal with the ramifications of the decisions that we're making right now, whether it's climate change, education, housing. All of that is going to have a longer lasting impact on us. And so to have our voice at the table and sharing that experience, so don't let anyone tell you to wait your turn. And also make sure before you run that you have a good support system in place. Because that was something like when I first ran, like I had my family and stuff, but I didn't realize like how strong of a mental health toll it does take on you to run for office and be in the public office sphere. I had not been going to therapy regularly when I first was running, and it got really, really rough. I've actually deactivated my personal Facebook at this point. And
That's probably
my mental health is so much better. But like now I also am like, you need to be like inconsistent, even if you don't run for office, just taking care of yourself and going to therapy. Even like I'm someone who has anxiety and ADHD. Even if you don't have like anxiety, ADHD, depression, or like anything like that, I think you still need someone like to talk to and like just share what you're feeling and like walk through it. So to take care of yourself, to have that support system as early as possible, because it took a while for me to finally like rip the Band-Aid off and start going to therapy regularly, because once I like got into the thick of it, I was like, I don't have time. And I was like, you have to make time to that. Like, this is, if you spread yourself so thin, if you are depleted and burnt out, like you're not going to be helping anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really pushed me. I'm like, okay, I need to make this a regular thing.
That is both good advice and like a clarion call, because it's like it's hard to do that if you don't have insurance that covers your mental health services, like, or if your copay's $100 instead of $20, like then I weekly therapy is out if you know it's at that cost. You know, I feel like that makes sense. Is all really good advice for sure.
Yeah, and I think also like one thing I tell folks who run for office, I always tell them to like designate someone, whether it's a family member or friend or campaign member. Like, you need to assign these tasks before you get into the thick of it. You need to have someone who reminds you to eat, have someone who reminds you to take a walk, who comes in and checks on you and is like, hey, let's just go on a walk. Like, just close your computer and go out. So to make sure you like are drinking water, because oftentimes like I would skip meals and it wasn't good because then I'd be burnt out. So like just having some like folks know that you're going to need that support beforehand is really important, because like they will step up. Your friends and community will step up. And like, especially like for us young folks who may not have friends who can like write us $5,000 checks. This is, I feel like it's just as equally important to have someone who's like making sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. So run for office, but also like use your network and all the different ways that you can lean on people. I love that. Okay, this is my last question before a little fun this or that game that we started playing with Anderson, and I thought would be fun to play with you. I thought it was really cool today that like the UK and Canada and Australia all came together and said like Palestinian statehood, we believe in less, and recognize a Palestinian state, and it felt to me like, both a beacon of hope for Palestinian folks and also like a beacon for leftist Americans, left-leaning lefty Democrats who are further to the left, the moderate wing of the Democratic Party. Just like some hopes that we need to keep fighting for the things that are right. And I was just curious what your kind of gut check was about that news today.
I'm obviously like very happy and ecstatic, and it also comes with last night it was released that the CPC, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, officially endorsed Block the Bombs legislation. And I think it's showing that there is a shift in the way that people are seeing what is happening in Palestine, what is happening in Gaza and the West Bank. It's also like at the same time, like I struggle with myself because I'm like, why did it take so long? Why did it take so many lives to be taken? And at the same time, I tell myself, I'm like, I still welcome the people who are like joining us and like calling for peace, who are calling for a Palestinian state, who are calling for humanitarian aid and an end to the endless funding of weapons to Israel on our taxpayer, like with our taxpayer dollars. But like that is always going to be in my heart because like there's going to be the over 60,000 people that we know of. There's going to be like that's just over 60,000 people who were killed through bombings and shooting. Like we don't even have the number of people who have been killed by starvation, by dehydration. That's going to be in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I saw like a graphic that seemed to suggest the number was 440 for starvation. And I was like, well, what fucking horseshit? Like, because of course that's not the right number.
Yeah.
Like,
I knew struggling myself because I'm like, I'm glad that folks like Australia, the UK, the CPC, and like members of the CPC have been supportive of it in the past, but like are coming together. But at the same time, those hundreds of thousands of lives will never come back. Those are people who have left behind their mothers, their parents, their children, their loved ones that will never get to see them again, will never get to have any moment, who are also traumatized and scarred for life and seeing their loved ones being killed in such a horrific manner, whether it was like through a bombing, under rubble, or seeing them suffer for long periods of time through starvation and dehydration. Like I like question us as like a humanity of like, how are we seeing these pictures and videos? Like a genocide is being live broadcast for us. And we still choose to close our eyes. Like we still choose to look away. And I hate to imagine, I was talking to my husband, I've talked to like other friends. I'm like, what are our kids going to read in the textbooks? Like when Alia and Abdul go to school in high school, what is it going to say in their textbooks? Like that the United States funded this genocide? Like we say like we're absolutely like, if we were around at like the time of the Holocaust, like we would have never stood by. We would have never stayed silent. Then why are we silent now?
I feel like I feel those questions as deeply valid, and also like we're, aside from the like, I don't know that our brains are meant to handle the amount of like trauma that comes through our phone screens and like real true suffering. Yeah. The Gaza genocide and so many other things, but like we're seeing exactly what white Americans we are seeing exactly what white Americans would have done during the Holocaust, and
Yeah. And I think like also like what is the path from here? Like inshallah, like God willing, the destruction of Palestine, the mass death and murder in Palestine comes to an end. But also, what are people going to return to? Like, who is going to be rebuilding Palestine? Like, Trump is over here talking about building resorts in Gaza. I just, like, we can't let up. Like, even when this wave of the genocide, like, God willing, ends, we cannot stay silent, because we know that we've seen it in history, that Gaza continues, like, to get bombed every year, every so often, like, that they continue to get attacked.
This war is an awful escalation of violence in a series of...
Because I feel like I've been protesting for pre-Palestine since I was, like, in elementary school. That was the first protest my parents took me to. Was that we went to, I think it was downtown Raleigh, and we've also gone to, like, protests in DC. And I look back and, like, I have pictures of me, like, as a kid with, like, Free Palestine signs, and I'm like, this is not, like, this is obviously, like, one of the most heinous and, like, horrific waves of the genocide of, like, in Gaza, but, like, this is something that Palestinians have been suffering through for decades.
For about 100 years, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
That we cannot go back to being silent. When this ends, like, we need to fight for the humanity of all people. That, like, we as Americans, like, we should want better for, like, our taxpayer dollars to not fund war. We have so many things that money could benefit here. We see this president criticize and talk about the unhoused population, sending in the National Guard to attack unhoused people. I'm like, fund housing then. Build
little tiny homes on abandoned place, like, raise some shit and throw some non-drug tested houses onto things.
Yeah, and build, like, we actually put out our RFP, request for proposals, for our new day center for Durham County. And we wanted to have wraparound services, like, not just is it a shelter, but we wanted to provide, like, job training, like, helping people with, like, building their resume, mental health services. So that way folks have that short-term, like, housing support, but we want them to get on their feet.
They get lifted out of it, and then that space is freed up for somebody else who needs it.
Because, like, a temporary shelter is only one part of the solution. We need to support people to find permanent housing. We need to support people to find stable jobs. And, like, those are all things we could be doing instead of sending billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars on war.
Yeah. Particularly under this current administration, I just, like, don't ever let people tell you that we don't have money to fund education and college student loan forgiveness and healthcare for all who want it. We have that money. It's building fucking weapons of war.
And I mean, Elon and Trump had DOGE that cut all these vital programs, cut all this funding through U.S. aid that was saving people's lives. But did they even look into the Pentagon budget? Because the Pentagon has failed their audit every single year. They do not pass audits. So I'm like, how are we continuing to give all this funding to a government agency that cannot tell you where the money is going and how it's being spent?
It's going to all the alien funding. I mean, I think that might actually legitimately be, like, where it's going, but it's niche interest. I watch some of those hearings, but you're absolutely right. And I refuse to believe that, like, we can't build a country that more equitably and, like, sufficiently supports the needs of our citizen population. Everybody among us, like, there's a wider net than just the fucking citizens. Like, everyone should have access to education and pre-K and clean roads to drive on without potholes,
and clean water and housing, like, and those are all things we can fund.
Yeah, we can do it. It is a policy choice not to. Thank you for talking with me about so many serious and important topics. Are you up for, like, a little game real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So this is just, like, designed to be, like, a quick,
oh God,
which one would you prefer? Neither is an acceptable answer. I just tried to pick some fun stuff along the veins of the last kind of this or that game I played. So you're at cookout, cheer wine float, or watermelon milkshake, or neither.
Honestly, neither. But if I had to, watermelon.
I love a watermelon milkshake. Honestly. Are you a Biscuitville or a Bojangles girly?
It depends on what I'm craving. Like if I'm craving a biscuit, like I think I would go to Biscuitville. But if I'm craving chicken, like I'm going to Bojangles.
Okay. Are you more early morning meeting or a late night strategy session?
So I will go make it for early morning meeting, but I'm a person who like my ADHD, I cannot wind down. So like my mind's going a million thoughts right as I'm going to bed.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you more into writing budget spreadsheets or getting out knocking on doors?
Both, because I don't think you can get equitable budgets without knocking on doors.
Fair. Carolina Hurricanes hockey or Durham Bulls baseball?
Durham Bulls baseball.
I think that might be a little easy one. Are you a sweet tea or non-sweet gal?
Sweet.
Can't live without it. Best food scene. Durham or Chapelville? Also quite easy.
Durham.
TikTok reels or long Twitter threads?
I have just started getting into video like content, and TikTok reels definitely like gets more people's attention.
Fair. Yeah.
I'm just not as creative as I wish I could be to like churn it out as much as other folks.
Those front-facing videos are hard. Are you more like reading your policy stuff or you like listen to it, getting it through podcasts?
Reading.
Gotcha. Raising wages or cutting taxes?
Por qué no?
This. You know, I'm here for that. I'm here for that. Medicare for all who want it.
Medicare for all.
Cool. Dreaming of something that's like a Green New Deal or something that's like free college for all.
How am I supposed to choose between these? These are everything that I want. I'm like, yes. I'm gonna say Green New Deal right now, just because I'm like thinking, I'm like, this planet, we need a planet to live on to fight for free college.
Hey, fair. Also, some of these colleges have enough endowments to like just make it free for people under.
Wake Forest just announced they're gonna be doing that. I'm like,
I love it. I'm like, man, I was 10 years too late on this shit. Are you more like I'm taking calls in the car or like I'm doing my email, clearing my inbox?
Calls. Yeah.
Are you an iced latte or a hot drip coffee person?
I can't have coffee because of my anxiety. I get too jittery.
Oh yeah, no, that sucks. I've definitely.
But I like hot chocolate.
Hey, hot chocolate is good. Hot chocolate or that completely different direction that like apple cider that Starbucks does. It's like caramely, like good alternative to a coffee beverage. If you were having some downtime on a weekend, would you pick hiking the Eno River trails or hanging out in like a cool third space like Common Market?
If the weather's nice, I'd go to Eno. But also, can I choose I want to choose a third space, like the Durham Museum of Life and Science. That's where I love to go.
Oh, cool. I haven't been there.
We have a family membership because I went there earlier today with my kids. And it's just so nice because you can, like, the kids can see animals, they can play, they can explore, play with, like, learn science, weather, everything.
Awesome. Yeah. That's so cool. Would you want to be remembered as a barrier breaker or a coalition builder?
Coalition builder.
And if you had to pick a 2028 presidential ticket, Liz Warren or J.B. Pritzker?
Liz Warren.
Awesome. Oh, cool. Well, thank you. This has been so lovely. I really enjoyed talking with you. I will not make you stay for my little like closing bits and bobs. But this has been so great. Do you have any like questions for me, or is there anything you need?
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited to hear what it sounds like afterwards. And also, yeah, anytime you need anything in Granville County, let me know. When you have candidates, I will be there to support them.
Thank you.
If there's other people who want to run for office, email me, nida@nidaallam.com. I'm here to support, bounce out ideas off of everything.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Foxfire Dispatch. If today's discussion lit a spark, help us fan the flame by sharing this episode with your neighbors or dropping us a note on social or emailing us at thefoxfiredispatch@gmail.com with your questions, stories, and ideas for bringing about a better South. We put out episodes weekly on Fridays, and if you like our content, you can find us at the Foxfire Dispatch on Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky, and Foxfire Dispatch on TikTok and Twitter, aka The Mad Place. Until next time, remember, we are who we're waiting for. Now go get in some good trouble.